How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome to the second take of this video because my dumb fuck ass managed to delete it while I was uploading it. It's been one hell of a day. This is my Vortex Occultist. This is a secondary league starter that I'm more than likely going to end up using. I'm kind of planning like 3, and I'm going to choose between them kind of at the time of the league. At the moment, it's been Earthquake Berserker, this character, my Vortex Occultist, and then I have a Herald of Agony Juggernaut. It kind of depends what I decide my league goals are going to be, but this is a character I've wanted to play for a decent amount of time now, so I figured I would craft one up and just kind of see how it goes. So this is our skill tree. I'm going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to give you like a quick overview for those of you who just want like the couple minute thing, and then we'll fully dive into it. So that's the skill tree. Here are our skills. Just very quickly for you, you can pause if that's all that's important. And here is our itemization, just to very quickly give you that little bit of showcase right there. Alrighty, now to actually talk about things. So the keystones that we take in this build are Elemental Overload, Zealot's Oath, and CI. This is an energy shield occultist. A couple of notable things about that is that you need Vile Bastion or some sort of stun immunity if you're going to play energy shield, especially if you're going to play Chaos Inoculation. Because the way stun thresholds work is it goes off of like your max health or some shit like that. And since you have 1 HP, every hit stuns you if you're using, an ES build. And if you don't have stun immunity, you're just gonna get repeat stunned until you fucking die. So that's where Occultist is fantastic for Vile Bastion. Other people playing ES builds will use Brine King. The Pantheon works semi-decently, provided you do still get stunned every now and then, which kind of blows, but or alternatively, you could look for like Unwavering Stance, or you can find Cannot Be Stunned on certain pieces of gear and whatnot. But that is a node that you're going to want to look for. My Ascendancy is just Void Beacon and Malediction up here. This gives us an additional curse for a ton of extra damage. Then we have Profane Bloom for a bit of extra AoE. This is looking to be very hefty on the clear speed side of things, but I do have a bossing setup as well for a reasonably good DPS. And I've set this up for AoE right now. Like, I don't have Conk Effect in here, for example. This DPS can get a lot higher if you really want to optimize it. So yeah, Profane Bloom for AoE and applying curses to bosses, basically. Malediction for a secondary curse. Vile Bastion for ES regen and cannot be stunned while you have ES. And then Void Beacon for the last point. Could opt for Forbidden Power and sort of change this around into a power charge crit build if you wanted to, but we're not really taking that route. But I definitely think you could play it that way if you really want to go and reverse engineer some shit. So, tree-wise, come out with spell damage, get Frostwalker, get Elemental Overload. Quick caveat, not entirely sure if this works with Vortex. Reason being, Righteous Fire, for example, is a dot damage spell, but it doesn't trigger LA Overload on its own because it doesn't have a hit component. I'm quite sure, I'm like 99% sure Vortex does, so I'm pretty sure it's gonna work. But if it doesn't, keep that in mind. Just the way to test it is slot it, go and drop Vortex on a pack. If you don't see LA Overload in the top left hand corner after, like 2, 3, 4 packs, this shit might be broken. Or it might not work correctly. Because people slot in LA Overload in their RF builds while not actually having a way to proc it to make the DPS look bigger. So keep an eye out for that in the path of buildings that people are going to be putting out for their league starters. But yeah, grab a bit of Energy Shield and Max Mana here. Grab some stats because we're going to need those. Zealot's Oath for life regen. ES regen instead, sorry. We're using a summoned Stone Golem as well, so we'll have some nice ES regen just from that in general. Grab Serenity for reduced mana reserve, which is going to be quite useful. With the exact setup we're going with, if we anoint another reduced reserve, we can put on a Herald, if you're looking for something like that. then this node is entirely cuttable if you want to use like Delirium passives or you want more ES. You can cut this minion cluster. This is just a bit of a trick to get extra damage. If you don't need it, feel free to cut it. And then we have Arcane Capacitor, which is something I'm kind of experimenting with, because it has a chance to gain Arcane Surge when you kill an enemy, and increased effect of Arcane Surge, as well as increased mana. The reason I'm experimenting with this is I don't know what level of Arcane Surge it gives you. If it gives you 20, then that's really fucking good. If it gives you, like, level 1, kind of sucks. Because we have Arcane Surge on Flame Dash, but it only is level 7, because then we get Arcane Surge every time we dash, right? Every single time. But if this can give us level 20 on kill, that's really good for mobbing. It's a damage increase, right? But obviously, we just won't know until we try it. But yeah. And then we cut down, get Retribution, pick up AoE, grab spell damage, and then resist and LE damage, which is a very fantastic node for SSF. Then we cut right, we get ES. Oh yeah, we grab this ES cluster as well. Cut right, grab ES here. AoE, Jewel Socket for Delirium stuff, experimentation, any combination of damage over time, cold damage, cold dispels. I don't think you want an Abyss Jewel. I think you want like one of the blue ones probably. That's what I'd probably go for. And then cold damage over here, AoE, Essence Surge for ES, Chaos Inoculation, Influence, Reduce Reserve. Could maybe cut these two, but I mean, it's 2 points for 70k, so it's pretty good. ES, grab Cold Multiplier here, Cold Overtime Multiplier. Fantastic bit of extra damage. Pop down here, grab Growth and Decay for one of the best multipliers, or one of the best nodes, sorry. Because we're doing damage over time, right? So we get damage over time and damage over time multiplier. And then these 5 are cuttable. They were just kind of there, so I'm still experimenting with if those are worth it or not. Could cut them for Delirium stuff, that's sort of shenanigans. Or could cut it for more survivability if you find you have enough damage by cutting all that. The big node to talk about is Arcane Will, because this actually changes the way we gear and the way we optimize the character. Because you gain 4% of your max mana as extra energy shield. One other thing is I'm not entirely sure if I should take Wicked Ward. I am not sure. I'll have to experiment with this, like, as I play. I know this used to be in Occultist and used to be taken quite often, but it also used to give you, like, 300 base energy shield, which was really fucking good. Well, it doesn't do that anymore, so I'm not entirely sure if it's worth it. I think it is, but still, less regen rate, less ES leech. Yeah, we'll see. I'm not entirely sure. Oh no, I do have ES leech. We're good. I was like, I haven't taken any ES leech nodes, so I hope I have one somewhere, but I actually do, so we're good there. But yeah, you might want that as well. I have to actually test that to see how it would go. But yeah, as I was saying, this changes the way we optimize our gear and what actually works gear-wise. Because it means if you get max mana anywhere, it's not actually a bad thing. Well, I mean, it's still not great, but it's not entirely worthless. If you have a really good item and it has max mana on it, it's still a really good item. And this sort of salvages it from being like, oh, why is that there, to at least I'm getting something, right? So I found that, like, on rings, for example, I can actually, if I don't have any other crafts that are worthwhile, I can just craft max mana, and not only do I get extra mana regen to get a cutoff point or a threshold to be able to have, like, infinite mana, it also gives me a bit of extra ES as well. You can also sometimes get max mana as extra ES as a roll or a craft on, like, I think it's Betrayal Gear, something like that. So you can get even more, and then if you stack mana, or you feel like going that route for whatever reason, it's actually quite useful. Alright, into skills. Yeah, Anoint. Either Anoint damage, like Anoint cold damage, like down here, I would assume. One of these, maybe Flash Freeze. Skittering Rune is not a bad idea either. Alternatively, Anoint, Reduce Reserve, or just flat ES, like a large flat ES node somewhere, probably. Okay, into skills. Vortex, here's the setup that we're rolling with. Quick caveats here is focus might have to go if you want to freeze shit, because we're not able to freeze or chill or anything like that because of elemental focus, not inflicting elemental ailments. That might need to be changed in practice. We'll see. It's just a really good multiplier, but if we need the survivability or we find we're dying at higher tiers, maybe switch that out so you can freeze and chill stuff. This is set up for AoE because I want to try and make a speed farmer with reasonably decent DPS. But if you want single target, feel free to put in Conk Effect. Your damage goes up pretty tremendously. When I turn on Righteous Fire for the boss, yeah, damage goes up quite well. So obviously that was on a 7 link, but you know what I mean. Okay, so that's our main setup just for flat damage. Blasphemy, curses. I have two setups here. I have an AoE setup for like farming, and then I have a fully optimized single target setup, which we are on right now. So, just to showcase the fucking single target setup real quick, and then we'll showcase the farming one, which is a Frost Bomb Curse on Hit double curse setup. This makes it so you don't have to waste your mana reserve on your curses. If you're farming and speed mapping, this setup is going to do better for you because you're going to have your curses up every single pack because obviously they're radiating around you in roughly what should be the same AoE as Vortex. So you flame dash into a pack, everything automatically gets cursed. Then you Vortex, the ground gets covered in a dot. They die, they explode from Occultist passive, right? You see how things are going and sort of lining up. So your DPS for that setup is pretty decent. I'll showcase it in just a second. But if you want to do bosses or do endgame content, this is going to be the setup you're going to want to look for. We're going for a Frost Bomb, Curse on Hit, Frostbite, AoE Weakness. Now, this allows you to have cold exposure from Frost Bomb, which reduces the resists by 25% for cold resist. Then we get Frostbite for cold damage, as well as reducing their cold res even more. And then AoE Weakness for reducing their resistances even more. Yeah. You kind of get the memo. So, reduce res, curse on hit, double curses. These can also be max level, right? You don't really have any issue with that. And you're not wasting mana reserve, which means you can use auras. We're using Malevolence and Zealotry for just the highest flat damage possible. If you want to really optimize DPS as well, what you do is you spend 2 points, or like 4 points, and you get Whispers of Doom, and you go to your items, and you put on Witchfire Brew, and stuff gets very funny. This is how you optimize, but you need a Witchfire Brew to be able to do this, because this is not gettable in SSF that easily. If you can manage it, well, obviously you're laughing, but let me put on Conk Effect, and turn on Vol RF. Single target damage. If you can get the boss to stand still, it's pretty fucking good. So yeah. That is like as high as possible boss DPS as I was able to muster on this. That is our setup with Malevolence, Zealotry, and the Frostbomb setup. This is for single target. Looking at AoE, we are looking at a setup and damage. That looks like that. Do I still have Conk Effect on? I do. That looks like that. Pretty decent. Still, obviously, we're going for AoE clear and whatnot, so we're not knocking down our AoE radius with Conk Effect or anything like that. In practice, you might still be able to use Conk Effect and maintain good AoE. Sometimes I've just thrown it on and gotten used to it. That could work too. I was kind of hoping to get like a Vortex that covers the whole screen, but at 27 AoE radius, that's not really gonna happen, so... But yeah, this works by you flame dash into a pack, it'll auto curse everything, and then you drop your Vortex, and everything's just gonna die. Pretty nice. Summon the Stone Golem for life regen, which gets converted to ES regen from Zealot's Oath, and then flame dash, Arcane Surge, faster casting for just free Arcane Surge for bonus damage. Obviously we don't know if this gives us level 20 Arcane Surge, we'll see. One other thing you can put in is a self-cast Steel Skin if you feel like you really need like survivability or you're dying or something like that. Self-cast Steel Skin gives you a lot of agency and a lot of survivability if you're in that department or in need of that sort of stuff. And then itemization, we talked about Witchfire Brew. If you can get one, you're balling. If not, you're still going to be okay, but you can kind of pray the whole league, basically. Fantastic Flask, then you want just a damage flask. Consecrated Ground on use. It's fine. It's extra DPS. And gear-wise, we're going to look for a Cold Fossil Wand, more than likely. 2 of them would be preferable. You're looking for any combination of spell damage, hybrid spell, cold multiplier. Just a big spell damage roll in general is quite easy to do. Getting a spell damage roll with cold overtime multiplier, not as much. I think you can just take a wand with good spell damage and craft cold overtime multiplier, and you'll probably be fine. More than likely, you'll be fine. But I have rolled wands like this by just chaos spamming them. So it's definitely possible to get these sort of things. Getting 2 of them, debatable. But you can get a wand roughly of this power quite easily within a week, if not less. If you really like bunker down, I'm talking like casual sort of time period. You can get 2 of these wands within like a week pretty easily. And it's solo stuff on. So yeah, any combination of that. There's also like damage over time multiplier that also got added as a craft. So there might be like the possibility to make something like even fucking better. I wonder if I can go add modifier up the bench. Does it increase damage over time? I mean, obviously that exists, but isn't there damage over time? Yeah, so you can get cold over time multiplier. I could have swore there's damage over time multiplier. Maybe there is and I just can't fucking find it. It's also a possibility. Give it one more look through and then we'll call it a day. I know there's... it's chaos over time multiplier. That's what I was looking for on the craft. But yeah, you can get increased damage over time as a bench craft. So, alternatively, you can go spell damage, cold over time, and then craft increased damage over time. If you get cold damage suffix, well, you're fucking rich, alright? But yeah, rest of the gear, we're looking for just ES, tri-res. If you wind up with a piece like this that has max mana, you're not really that bad off. And it also gives you extra value for a god roll piece because you're looking for plus max, plus mana, percent, right? Generally. So the extra plus max mana, if you get that on every piece, starts to add up to maybe an extra couple hundred ES for 2 nodes in the skill tree. Pretty good. Pretty good. And obviously, we are looking for any combination of this. You're not going to get every piece tri-res, but, 2 res and decent ES is good enough, provided you get that across all your gear. So, we're looking for that basically on everything. Chest piece, you can get a 400 piece relatively easily. It will take a little bit more work, but I do believe you can get up to like 800 if you really want to like play nothing but that one character. I've seen 800, 850 chest pieces reliably every league. I haven't made them myself, but I've seen other people send them to me and trying to make me sad, and it's worked. But yeah, that's pretty achievable. I think you use a hillock craft combined with, what is it? Fossil crafting, probably. You can get some pretty good fossil crafts off of, like, ES fossils. So, maybe look for that. Maybe look for a guide on how to craft really good ES chest pieces. But I know you can get, like, 800, 850, probably pretty easily. Fingerless silks, any combination of rolls. Shoes, any combination of rolls. Move speed, obviously. Yeah. Onyx Amulet is how I get all my stats. People are like, oh man, how do you like get your stats? You're playing a witch. How do you have 100 dex? How do you have 100 dex and 100 strength? An Onyx Amulet with plus all attributes, and then probably a crafted plus stats, depending on what I need. This is obviously God roll. Any combination of this works. You just want an Onyx Amulet blessed to max stats. If you're using a unique necklace, good luck keeping up stats. But I mean, it can work too. You can plan around different things. You can craft stats on other pieces of gear. Like, it all depends on what you wind up with actually picking up, right? So, but I normally go for an Onyx Amulet with plus all attributes, and I'll wind up with More often than not, it'll be like plus all attributes and then plus max life, which is whatever my life pool is, plus max or plus ES with all stats, right? That's my main goal for the necklace. And then maybe a resist or two here and there. The necklace is basically a problem solver piece. That's what necklace and rings are. So that's why I have Moonstone here for ESES. If you don't need to solve a problem, that's your go-to. If you need to solve a problem, put that here. So you can solve, you know, resist issues with 2 stones, survivability issues with max ES, or damage issues with unique rings if it's a different build. And then belt is crystal belt. This is probably not going to be changeable because this is just a shit ton of energy shield, provided this is like actually a low roll right now. Bless it to max, obviously, and just get ES with like you can craft like flask charges or some shit on this if you want to, and then res a couple of reses should be fine. Abyss belt, probably not the best, but probably could be fine. I don't think it would be that bad, so should be okay. But I think crystal belt would be better in the long run. Flasks wise, any combination of just the normal stuff. Obviously, you don't really need a life flask. Do life flasks work with Zoazos? I play this game for a living. You wouldn't fucking know it. If it does, that's useful. If not, you don't need a life flask. So you can use unique flasks pretty easily. I'd recommend these two with Quicksilver, Granite, Basalt if you want to really not die. I normally run double Quicksilver, one for Adrenaline, one for bleed removal, and then a fleas removal flask. But Quicksilver, oh wait, no, I'm actually retarded, never mind. Run a bleed removal Quicksilver, freeze removal Granite, and a curse removal Onslaught flask. Yeah, that'll be the best way to get maximum movement speed while not dying to dumb shit. So yeah, that is going to be our optimization setup for the Vortex Occultist. Let me know if you go about playing this build, and if you enjoyed this video. That's going to be all for me, and as always, take care, gentlemen.